Hey, what's up guys? Dan back at you with another video, and we have a big week ahead of us. I figured we'd come back together, talk a little bit about what's going to be happening in the Borderlands universe, especially with PAX East coming up this weekend. So I wanted to come to you all today and just wanted to have a little heart to heart. Wanted to talk about what's going to be happening as far as Borderlands. If you don't know, Borderlands is rumored to be coming out soon. We know that Gearbox is going to be at PAX East this weekend, and they have a main show, main theater, main stage, whatever you want to call it, presentation. They have about an hour where they're going to get on stage and they're going to talk about Borderlands. More than likely, they're going to talk about what new games are coming out, and I want to just lay down the lines of what we are going to be expecting, what could be happening, what's for the most part expected, and what we all hope is going to be announced, which is Borderlands 3. So with that being said, there are a few things that we know for the most part has been almost confirmed to come out. One of them being a Borderlands 1 remaster. I do feel this is probably going to be one of the things that they lead off with. I feel like they're going to kind of set a timeline for the entire Borderlands universe. And the first thing I think they're going to talk about is Borderlands as a whole, how the gaming industry has changed since the last Borderlands game, and then bringing it all back to where it started, which is Borderlands 1. And I feel like it's been long enough. The game's been about 10 years since Borderlands 1 was released, originally on 360 and PlayStation 3, and also on PC. It's over time for us to get a remaster, so I feel like they're going to first release and talk about Borderlands 1 remastered, which would basically be an upgraded version of the game. There probably will be some new things inside the game, probably taken from Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel and thrown into the Borderlands 1 remaster. So I feel like this is going to be the first thing they talk about, kind of, you know, excited to talk about bringing Borderlands back into the current looter shooter genre, the genre that for the most part I want to say started, at least for a FPS console player, for most of us, at least started on console. Most people's first looter shooter, if you weren't playing World of Warcraft or Diablo or some of those older titles, was Borderlands. So I feel like it makes sense for them to start off talking about how long it's been since Borderlands 1, where we came from, where we're going, and releasing a remaster for the 10-year anniversary of Borderlands 1. Now, this is where things get a little bit more tricky, and I'm going to go out on a limb and talk a little bit about this. There have been some leaks. Remember a while back we had those things about Steam updating certain content in the Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 1 and Borderlands pre-sequel and all these new little things coming out. I believe there is a possibility that we're going to have some content being added to pique our interest leading up to Borderlands 3. I think Borderlands 1 is going to have its remaster like we talked about. However, I do think Borderlands 2 and pre-sequel will both have some content added into it, possibly free, added to all people that already own Borderlands 2 and Borderlands pre-sequel launching that day. I feel like there's going to be something. Some people have speculated there's going to be a new Firestorm missions. Some people have also speculated that Telltale's Tales from the Borderlands is going to be added into the Borderlands universe. Although it's already canon, Telltale has gone under. Tales from the Borderlands is not as known for a lot of people, especially if you just play the Borderlands series outside of Tales from the Borderlands. Even though Tales from the Borderlands is canon, I feel like they're going to put it inside one of those games and possibly change a few things to help bridge the gap between Borderlands 2 / Borderlands the pre-sequel and help lead things into Borderlands 3. So this probably is going to take most of their hour of talking and speculating and, you know, bringing everyone up to speed what Gearbox has done. I don't know if Randy Pitchford is going to do this, although it would be very interesting if he's the one that goes out and tells us all about all this content. I feel like all these things so far will have a launch date, will have a if something we have to pay for has to pay for it. All of that will be, you know, we'll know all of that at that day. The one thing we won't know about is probably the thing that they'll end with. A lot of people would like for them to begin with the Borderlands teasers that they've been tweeting out all week. But I don't think that's the case. I think they're going to have a very interesting timeline where, like I said, they talk about each game and where they are currently and bringing those up to speed in the universe of just looter shooter gaming and just gaming in general. and leave their Borderlands 3 announcement or lack thereof to end. I personally believe, and I think their marketing for PAX East and how they don't want anyone to miss their PAX East announcement. Their Twitter, Gearbox's Twitter, and Borderlands Twitter specifically have been very active on letting everyone know about Borderlands, about talking about, if you watch the PAX East, you get all these shift codes for Borderlands 2 and pre-sequel. I really feel like they're putting all their chips into riding in on a diamond horse. I was trying to think of a word for it. Riding in on a diamond horse to shuffle in Borderlands 3. I don't believe we're gonna get a due date. I think we're asking too much of a due date. I feel like we're gonna get an announcement of a Borderlands title with a new title. I don't know if it's gonna be Borderlands 3, Border Worlds, whatever they decide to call it. I think Thursday we get that. Pretty sure we get that. Pretty sure we'll get confirmation that what we saw a couple years ago with the whole Gearbox technical panel test thing that they did, all those things have come to play now to show us Borderlands 3. I feel like we'll get a little teaser. I feel like we might get Claptrap talking. We might get something to know about what the Vault Hunters have been doing since this time. I don't expect us to get a announcement date outside of fall 2019 or spring 2020. That being said, I will put it this way: there was a panel, a podcast that Randy Pitchford was on where they said the way he wants, at least when he was a part of the things. I don't know, with all of the changes recently with Randy Pitchford and Gearbox and all the news. Randy Pitchford was on a podcast where he talked about, someone just straight up asked him about Borderlands announcements. And he came out and said the moment they announce that Borderlands 3 is a thing, you can expect to have the game in your hands in less than about 6 months. 6 months or around that time. He doesn't like having games announced and having to wait a year. He says at this point, you're going to have the game once we announce that Gearbox's Borderlands is coming. You have 6 months or left to come out. There have been calls that says that have been leaked that the end of this year, around September or October, that Borderlands is going to be coming out. This kind of lines up with what he said. This kind of lines up very, very good with what he said. This is March. This is the end of March. Who's to say at the end of September, which around September, early mid-October, all Borderlands games have come out. This falls very in line with their normalities of how they release content and how they've all released all of their games. I don't think we're going to get a actual date, but I do believe we'll get a window. This would be awesome if we get a date, but I don't expect it. So I just wanted to put that out there. This is kind of my timeline. We're going to run it down one more time. And I just want to know in the comment section. This is just a video. We got another one coming out tomorrow, but this is just a video of what we can be expecting and what I think is going to be happening in that 60 minutes of them being on stage. We're going to be streaming it, so if you want to hang out and talk Borderlands with us that day, be sure to come be in my stream. We'll be co-hosting their panel, and then we'll be playing some Borderlands afterwards to talk about it, what we got right, what we got wrong. But I believe they're going to come out, talk about Borderlands, talk about how things were when Borderlands first came out and how the genre is now when Borderlands has been AFK for about 3 or 4 years. They're going to go back and start with Borderlands 1. Talk about how fantastic and how all of their lives changed and how a lot of gamers' lives have changed since Borderlands 1. And talk about the 10-year anniversary. And then they'll talk about the remaster. We'll get the remaster, we'll get a launch date, we'll get a pre-order date, we'll get all that stuff immediately. Then we'll go on and move on to Borderlands 2, arguably their most successful out of the Borderlands series. And then we'll get some information about possibly a new DLC, maybe free, maybe not free, maybe $5, who knows. We'll get something along the lines of that to come out. And then they'll probably move on to Borderlands pre-sequel, and then we'll get something about Tales from the Borderlands being added into Borderlands pre-sequel. Kind of to bolster, I think, the amount of content you have in that game. I think it'd be better to put into pre-sequel than in Borderlands 2. Although there is a chance that they could put it in the Handsome Collection, for those that already own that content, which, you know, it could still be in pre-sequel, but just put it in the Handsome Collection. And for those that just own the pre-sequel, like us on PC, it just gets added directly into the pre-sequel to just add up and bolster, just having more content to do. So that'd be a really cool thing. There are probably some surprises that they're going to give us, which I wouldn't be surprised that I am well unaware of and not even on the ball about. And then they're going to probably spend the last 10-15 minutes on Borderlands 3 or whatever they call Borderlands, talking and saying, hey, you remember that tech panel we talked about and showed off a couple of years ago? This is what we've been doing since then. This is Borderlands. This is what you're gonna be playing. Oh, by the way, here's a launch date. Here's a window date. We'll see you soon. That's kind of what I expect the next hour to go in. And I'm really excited to see how this turns out. This has been a long time coming, and I've been sitting and deciding should this video come out. But I kind of really feel, based off of how well they have been promoting PAX, I think this is it. I think if you're a fan of Borderlands as a series, as a community, if you're one of the people that have constantly wanted and harassed, honestly, the Gearbox employees about anything new about Borderlands because you're passionate, I think this is probably our first chance to actually see Borderlands 3 come into relevance in 2019 and coming out with a new game. So a fairly long video, kind of a little bit longer than I expected, but I wanted to get my thoughts out there. This is just a thoughts video, a little bit of a sparse rant, but I want to know, this is one of the videos that I really need some feedback. I really want to hear what you thought and what you think is going to happen over the course of that day. Like I said, I will be streaming the Gearbox panel, so if you need somewhere to come hang out and PogChamp all in chat and hype train it up because we finally have a due date, let me know. I look forward to seeing you there, but please leave your comments. What do you think is going to happen at Borderlands 3? What do you want to see happen about Borderlands 3? And will you be watching the PAX East panel yourselves? I know a lot of people will probably be at work and at school. You're going to be watching it on like your second monitor or, you know, instead of doing your homework and all that stuff. Can't wait. I'm really excited. I'm pretty sure we all are excited. Thanks so much for watching this video. Be sure to, how do you do YouTube? Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to share this with all your friends. And yeah, we'll see you soon.